Welcome back to Broken Electronics. Once again, it's great to be with you. This video is going to focus one more time on my PowerBook G3 Wallstreet PDQ. I've been doing a lot of research, and in particular reading through some forum threads that go back to the early 2000s, where evidently a lot of people back in the day were having trouble getting their Wallstreets to upgrade to OS X. So maybe it's not just me. Now, some people did it and it worked fine. Other people simply couldn't get it to install. Now, one of the suggestions might not help everybody. It was to take the drive back out of the Wallstreet and put it into a Pismo. Install OS X. It would have to be Jaguar because that's the maximum, as I've also sadly discovered, the maximum that the machine can run. But install Jaguar there, and we would have the advantage then of being able to update it. I've got the update saved on my network file server. Get it all set so it's up to 10.2.8. Take it out of the Pismo, put it back into the Wallstreet, and it should boot up, being a dual boot into OS 9 and OS 10. It ought to work. This will work for me because I just happen to have a very well-running Pismo. So this ought to be interesting. I suppose it'll be interesting whether it works or not, but it is something to try. And if it doesn't work, I should be happy. The Wallstreet works fine on OS 9. Well, I hope you will want to follow along with this, so please stay tuned. All right, as an interim report, I have taken apart the Wallstreet, removed the SSD, and I have taken apart the Pismo and replaced its SSD with the one taken from the Wallstreet. Now, these are not difficult processes. Probably the most difficult thing in the whole thing is dealing with the respective hard solid-state drive enclosures. But that got done. It is well designed from the standpoint of upgrades. The one thing that I do wish is that it weren't necessary to remove the processor card and particularly remove the heatsink from the processor every single time you do this. It becomes a lot of reapplications of thermal paste. But, so now I'm going to put the Pismo back together, boot it up, and if all goes well, we will be installing Jaguar on the Pismo, then transplant the drive back into the Wallstreet, and we should have Jaguar on the Wallstreet. Well, that's the hope anyway, so stay tuned. All right, the Pismo is now back together, and the drive from the Wallstreet is in there. The Wallstreet is still over here waiting. Now, I'm going to have to reset things here and see if we can get Jaguar installed. At least that continues to be the plan. Stay tuned. All right. So we need to power up the Pismo, and I've got the install CD in place, so I shall hold down the C key, Otherwise, it would probably boot into OS 9. There we go. Which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. No, this looks like we're going to go into the installer. Yeah, here, the drive is spinning up now. And there's our Apple. Okay, we'll bring you back once this is loaded up. Stay tuned. Okay, we're booted into the installer. We're of course going to use, whoops. English is the main language. Okay. Guided through the necessary steps. Reading packages. Okay. Let's continue. Reading every word, of course. And we need to agree to the license for this, I guess it's an 18-year-old operating system. Apple would be very unhappy if we didn't. And here are two options. Now, on the Pismo, it doesn't have that restriction about 8 megabytes. So, yeah, we could install it on the data, but I don't know what would happen once we brought it back to the Wallstreet. So what we're going to do is install it onto Macintosh SSD. And we're going to customize. Yeah, as I recall, we do want additional applications. We don't want additional printers. We don't want Asian fonts. And we don't want the localized files for others. So, okay. I'm hopeful that we won't require the second disk, but hey, here it goes. Well, hopefully I'll bring you back when there's some good news. Stay tuned. I got very scared when the drive spun down, but it got the job done, and we're now into the installation. It's saying about 30 minutes. I hope it's not going to be quite that long, but you won't have to worry about that. I'll do that for you. Stay tuned. Well, it's less than a minute. And it did say finishing installation, running installer script. So yeah, I think the second CD, for the most part, is the language localizations and additional fonts. So you don't really need that second CD. May have printer drivers on it too. Come on now. Just about there. Okay. I didn't time it, but it was closer to 15 minutes than it was to 30. Okay. Here's our Apple. Oh, geez, the drive's spinning up. Now spinning back down. It ought to boot onto the SSD. I will be unhappy if it boots back onto the CD. Come on. Okay, this looks promising. Oops, I do need the second CD. Darn it all. It's because of the additional applications. Okay, I'm going to do that, and we'll bring you back later. Stay tuned. Well, looky here. We actually were booted onto the SSD, because instead of restarting again, it went right to the welcome video. Now, I will go through and set up Jaguar while it's here. I'm also going to connect to the network file server to get... Okay. All right, you certainly don't need to watch this, but I did want you to experience the welcome video. So, stay tuned. Now, just to answer the question about whether Jaguar can connect to my file server, there it is. Now, one of the things that we're going to need to do is get the updater for Jaguar. From anything prior to Tiger, Apple moved all of the updates. They are still there, if you know where to look. From Tiger on, you just click software update, it finds the updates and everything goes. So what I've done is to download the updaters, the combo updaters for pretty much every operating system known to PowerPC, and go from there. So I'm going to be finding that, which should actually be under Mac OS, I think. Yep, they're in there. So take me a minute to find that and to run that. Stay tuned. Okay, the updates have finished. I really don't want this. There. Okay. Now, just to verify that we are in fact done about this Mac, And yes, there we are, 10.2.8. The CD installs vanilla 10.2. And we see our 1 gigabyte of RAM, the 400 megahertz PowerPC G3, which of course means this is the Pismo. So what I'm going to need to do now is shut her down, open up the Pismo again, and take this SSD out, put the original SSD back in. So we should, at that point, be ready to go back into the Wallstreet, put the this SSD into the Wallstreet, boot that up, and we should have a working copy of Jaguar for the Wallstreet. I hope. All right, so I've got some work ahead of me, but you can just be brought right back when I've completed it, hopefully successfully. Stay tuned. All right. The Wallstreet is back together. The original SSD is now in place. Now we have to see if it works. Well, it chimed. That's a good thing. And we have an Apple. So it's got to be booting into OS X of some kind. It has to be Jaguar, doesn't it? No clue why it got so dim. That's strange. Okay, there we go. All right. Oh, scared me for a second there. All right. So, about this Mac? No, not about Finder, about this Mac. And here we have it. Mac OS X, version 10.2.8. It's a fully updated Jaguar. And we see the 512 megabytes of RAM and the 233 megahertz G3. So, obviously, this has to be. All right, now, we saw when we were booted up here with the Pismo, we saw the real reason why I was so determined to get this upgrade to happen. Jaguar, while it's not going to do anything in particular as far as getting in the internet, OS 9 will actually do better with ClassZilla. The only anything that's even close to a modern browser for Jaguar is ClassZilla under Classic. But OS 9 computers cannot access that network file server. OS 10 computers can definitely access that network file server. We saw that when it was booted up in the Pismo. So I think we can call this successful. It was worth doing. It was a pain in the neck. Why the Wallstreet would not just install Jaguar, I have no idea. But through this workaround, we managed to get it there. Huh. Well, so, be good to other people. Let's make the world a better place. It sorely needs it right now. Be good to yourselves so you can enjoy that better place when it finally gets here. Take very good and careful care until that can happen. And we will be back with you very soon with more videos. This has been Broken Electronics.